the opinions of others. With saying that, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us knowledge, give us guidance, and give us, inshallah, motivation to practice and to follow what we know, because knowledge without action is no knowledge. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين سيما بقية الله في السماوات والأرضين. قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن الكريم: من عمل صالحا من ذكر أو أنثى وهو مؤمن فلنحيينه حياة طيبة ولنجزينهم أجرهم بأحسن ما كانوا يعملون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. There's a story that a young man came to propose, and somebody who financially was fortunate and wealthy. And when they sat down, the father of the bride, the family, the father of the bride started asking questions. Okay, who you are, who's your family, where did you study? And eventually all the answers were acceptable answers. A very decent, educated, pious young man. But because he just finished school, he did not have much money, and he did not have a wealthy family to back him up. So the only downside was that he was not rich. So the father looked at his daughter, the future bride, and said, "My daughter, this is not a good option." And the daughter asked, "Why that?" And he said, "Because he have no rizq. He has no money. He has no ability to support you." So the girl accepted. While later, the second person came. The second candidate came for proposal. And this guy, from all those questions that the father of the bride asked, he did not have a lot of acceptable answer. He had some failed marriage before. He was not very educated. He was not that religious. So the answers were all over the place except one thing. He was rich. He had money. So again, the moment of consultation, mashwara, father sat down with his daughter and said to his daughter, "I think as your father, this is a good candidate for your marriage." And the daughter asked a question and said, "But he's not educated, he's not religious, he doesn't have some of the qualities and conditions that you were asking for." And the father said, "Don't worry, Allah is merciful. Inshallah, Allah will guide him." And the daughter said, "I have a question. What kind of God do you believe in?" So what do you mean? He said, "The God that you believe in is capable of guiding people, but is not capable of providing rizq and sustenance. He only capable of doing one thing." And this is the dilemma of our lives. That when it comes to, if you have somebody who is sick in our family and we take him to doctors and somehow we don't get the answer from there, we rely on nazr and remembering Allah and giving charity. But everything is going well, and now we talk about some charity, sadaqah, doing hajj. because we're not under pressure, now we said, why Allah is asking me to spend money for this cause? And this is the topic for tonight, which is our rizq, provision, sustenance, our livelihood. Is a matter that in America, especially in the time and place we live in, it's a very important issue. Not only this society, in every culture pretty much. The ability to provide for your family. As you know, in Islam, one of the responsibility of the husband is to provide financially for the family. That's the husband's job. Even if the wife is working, is not wajib, she's not obligated to spend anything. But at the same time, this topic of rizq brings in very important question, and that is that what is rizq? What is this provision? What is this livelihood we talk about? Because we see people who are very generous, and we see people who are not that generous, they're stingy, and everybody have a reason for what they do. And sometimes those who are stingy and cheap, they use religion to justify their stinginess. And one of the famous statements is always, if you need something yourself, it's forbidden for you to give it to someone else. Priority goes to you. So, for example, there's a saying in every culture, in every language, that if you need something in your house, it's not permissible to take it to the mosque and give it to the mosque. Why? Because priority goes to your house. And that's pretty much as being used as an excuse to stop people from being a charitable person, a generous person. And the expectation on daily basis is not getting more reasonable. They're not getting more reasonable. The expectations are getting higher and higher. It makes not only marriage difficult, it makes relationships difficult. It makes even Saleh Rahim, to even visit your relatives, difficult. Because the expectations are not acceptable. We make it more and more difficult. I'm asking you, in Islam, do we have any of these pre-marriage or pre-nikah and post-nikah ceremonies?
No.
Do we have any of them? For example, there is one time you go and there is hana involved, right? Another time you go, it's sweet, exchange sweets. In some cultures, there is something related to needle. You have to go, there's a needle involved, depending on the culture. And then after that, there's a wedding. And then there is a ceremony that people have to bring gift, right? I give you food, you have to give something in return. And it makes it more and more complicated. Recently, I've get this, it's shocking that I thought it maybe in our time, that's not the case anymore. That somebody actually a young person contacted me, said, my family they're limiting my option, that I only can marry someone from my town. That, for example, if I'm from country A and I'm from city C, it should be not only from the city C, but exact region that we live in the city. And this young person was genuinely concerned that what can I do? And I want to get married. But my family doesn't let me. Even when I bring up there is a Shia, suitable person from the same country, but it's not from the same town. Nope, don't even talk about it. We're not even going to meet them. Rizq is an important topic. Allah in Quran talks about hayat tayyibah, the cleansed or purified life. And the ayah start with Allah saying, the one who are righteous, man amila salihan. If you are doing good, if your intention and your actions are matching, you are actually doing your best to be a good, obedient person toward Allah. You're trying to do your best. Man amila salihan. Your actions are righteous. Min dhakarin aw untha. Doesn't matter you're male or female. So gender is not an issue. Specifically, Quran said, min dhakarin aw untha. If you're a man or woman, male, female. Wa huwa mu'min. While your action is matched with your iman. Means you have faith and your also conduct is matching your faith. So they're together. There's a harmony between your iman, your faith, and your action. وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ فَلَنُحْيَنَّهُ. We will revive them. We will give them life. نُحْيَنَّهُ come from hayat. Hayat means life. Allah said, we are the one, we will revive them. We will give them life. So, of course, this is not talking about biological life because we've already been given that gift. Even kuffar, even non-believers, even atheists, everybody have that kind of life, biological life. But this is a different kind of life. The life that you live, not that you survive. فَلَنُحْيَنَّهُ. We will give him a life. حَيَاةً طَيِّبًا. This is Surah Nahl. We will give him a life of purity. And some they translate as a sweet life. An honorable life. Hayatan tayyiba. What? Purified and cleansed from what? Quran says. And the tafsir said that it's a life that is cleansed and purified from jealousy, from hatred, from oppression. These are the things that plague our life. The reason we don't enjoy our life is because of what? Because one of these issues, right? We're jealous, or we hate someone, or we have a problem, or if we try to enjoy it, somebody else doesn't let us enjoy it. There's some issue always. But the biggest enemy that we have for the joy of our life is not people, it's us. Do you agree? I hope we agree on that. That the biggest enemy that we have for the joy of life, we're talking about us. We're not talking about somebody who is being oppressed and living in a territory that is being bombed on a daily basis. They try to enjoy it and they can. We're talking about average people who are not dealing with war and terror and hate and basically on a daily basis try to survive. Regular people like us that we are not having a fear of being bombed at night or be killed at night. The greatest enemy for joy is us. We're not happy. Right? We have reasons for not being happy. I'm not saying they're not acceptable, but we have reasons. If you ask anybody who's not happy, they have a reason. One reason is my house is too small, Another is that, I don't enjoy my job. I don't think this is, a dead-end job. Somebody, I have issue with my children. I try to enjoy my life, but my children doesn't let me. They're rebellious. Another said, I don't have children. I want children. I can't enjoy life because I don't have kids. Everybody have a reason. But we come up with that answer. We come up with that reason. A life that is cleansed and purified is a life that you ultimately can enjoy. It's a sweet life. Because you have no excuse to stop yourself from enjoying your life. I'm asking you to think about the life of the prophets of God. They dealt with a lot of challenges, but we don't see that somewhere they said they're not enjoying the life that they have. They're dealing with difficulty with people, with their own family members who are not good. But ultimately, when you see the way they worship, said, Ya Allah, thank you for all that I have. They're grateful for it. Even Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, with all the difficulty that he experienced, he said, Ilahi ridhan biridhak. I'm happy, I'm pleased, I'm satisfied with your satisfaction. And it's not a fake statement because there's no camcorder, there's no, camera zooming on his face to say something. No, he's genuinely something that he believed in the last moments of his life. Ilahi ridhan biridhak. Tasliman liqadha'ik. So hayatan tayyiba. That's what Allah will give people who have iman and amal salih. وَلَنَجْزِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْرٌ بِأَحْسَنِ مَا كَانُوا يَأْمَنُونَ. Allah said we will reward them more than what they deserve. Whatever good they did, we will make sure they will be compensated more than what they deserve. بِأَحْسَن, better than what they accomplished and what they achieved. And we have in Nahj al-Balagha, they ask Imam Ali alayhi salam, what is hayat al-tayyibah? They specifically asked this ayah, this purified, this sweet, this cleansed life, what is it? And Imam Ali alayhi salam said, that is the life that has qana'at. If you had qana'ah in life, that is a hayat al-tayyibah. What is qana'ah? Is being content. Feeling fulfilled and satisfied with what you are blessed with. To make a more contemporary definition, to be grateful for what you have instead of being obsessed with what you don't have. That's what qana'ah is. Qana'ah is not to strive for better life. It's not qana'ah to be lazy and don't try to improve and get a better position or get a better house or better. That's not qana'ah. Islam says you have to always try to man sawa yawma fahuwa maghbun. The one who's today and tomorrow or today and yesterday is exactly the same. You're not improving on a matter of iman or even a matter of your job. You're not doing anything. Such person is in great loss. You're a maghbun. You lost something. So Islam is a religion of being proactive, pushing you to do more and more. Even if it's the last second of your life, try to study. That's the reason you see, especially in Islam, our scholars look at the example of our maraj, our mujtahideen. Our scholars, they're in their 80s and still teaching. They're in their 70s and writing books. There's no retirement. When you read the right life of scholars, which I encourage you to read the biography of our scholars, read the biography of Sheikh Tusi. I know a lot of us, we like to read biographies of probably more contemporary personalities, tech moguls and rich people and successful billionaires. But read the life of Sheikh Tusi, Kharazmi. You know, these poor people, they accomplish a lot. And they have a lot in common with us. They have a lot in common. So read about them. What was their motto of life? How they lived. One principle you see all of them had is that you always have to keep better, get better. Change and change and change. At least that was the core of Islam and Islamic teaching. So if you read about it, you will know that today the reason we have a lot of heritage of, for example, great Greek philosophers today. I mentioned this before. Why world have it today? For example, the book of Aristotle, Plato, or Aflatun, Aristu, the other way of saying it. Do you know why we have it? This is the historical fact. That the reason they exist today is because there are translation of the Arabic version that was done by Muslims. Because when the war outbreak, and basically all the libraries of Athens and Greek empire was destroyed eventually, there was no remaining of all the accomplishment, all of the books and authentication of these great scholars. Years later, the only way they found something to bring it back was to find the Arabic translation of those books that was available, and then the English version of the books is a translation from Arabic to English, not from Latin, not from Greek to English. We did it as Muslims. We used to be pro-science, pro-study, translating, having the circle of debate, discussions. We had all that. So qana'at was not something, just be okay with whatever miserable life you have and that's it. Qana'ah means that today you have what you have. You cannot do anything about it. Don't put a lot of debt on your credit card to live a fantasy. Enjoy your life that you have. That's what qana'ah is. Be grateful for it. Instead of being obsessed with something that you don't have, or as I said, putting yourself in a position that you eventually will lose something precious, enjoy it. That's what qana'ah is. Do we have that in our lives, especially in America? Do we have things that we want to enjoy or we want because others have it? That is a question we always have to ask ourselves. We buy something, why we're buying it? Do we need it or we want it because others have it? Make that list. It's a weekend. You have some time, right? Today go, and you have, alhamdulillah, I'm pretty sure a lot of you use credit card and debit card. Look at the list of purchases you made. There's some for food and all that, but outside that, they're not big purchases, right? See how many of them we call them essential needs. And sometimes we even tell ourselves, I will be happy if I have that. Right? I'll be happy if I have this 60-inch TV in front of me, then I'll be happy. I'll be happy if I buy this. I'll be happy if I have that car. Always our happiness is contingent to something else, conditioned. So let me finish. There is a hadith that I think is a good attachment to this ayah of Quran. It could make it a very complete message. So Hayat al-Tayyiba was a life of being happy, right? A joyful life. And Imam Ali said it's about qana'ah, it's about your rizq, it's about management. It's about understanding that where you are right now, where you're standing right now, and what you can do about it. Be realistic about it. That's what it is. And in order to do that, you have to stay away from people's lives. You should not look what people have. If you do that, it will make you unhappy. There's a hadith Imam Sadiq said, do not stare at people's hand. Literally, don't look at their life, what they have. Where did they go for the summer? What kind of vacation? Whatever they had is for them. They live a different life than you. Maybe they had some family who backed them up. Maybe you find a job that you didn't. The life we live in is not the life of equality or everybody have the same amount of resources. We don't. Especially, we are fortunate, by the way. We are fortunate. Because we were raised in our culture, in America, for example, when it comes to immigrants, the highest level of education among immigrants is among these kind of societies and communities, right? You read about it. We were lucky. Not luck, let's say we're fortunate. Allah wanted this for us. But there are people who are born and raised in suburban areas that is not a choice for them to go to school. They didn't have a choice. They were 12, their mother was a drug addict, they should have gone and tried to survive. So if they are living that miserable life, don't blame them. Oh, they're like this. Their circumstances has a lot of influence on what people become. Some people, they're lazy, they don't do anything about it. But a lot of people, even if they try, because from the beginning they had no support, how they could have done it. That's the reason, don't look at people's life. Don't judge people with that lens. You can't understand what they're going through. Focus on what you know. The fact that is you know what's happening with your life. The hadith of Imam Ali alayhi salam said, Imam said, for your failure, for lack of joy, for the lack of sweetness, usually there are four reasons. When we have failure, Imam said, start with these four before we go and say, oh, it was evil eye, right? Chishme mardum. This is all evil eye. Or the moment you have, some failure in life, blaming everyone and everything except looking at maybe it was my fault. Imam Ali said there are four. For what we call the cause of failure. That could be a failure in financial life, right? Failure in the matter of your rizq. Or it could be in a matter of just not enjoying your life the way you have to. Enjoying life doesn't mean life, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي كَبَدٍ. The life, it has difficulties. But it doesn't mean you have to live every day of your life with pain. It means you have to be ready that with life does not come absolute comfort. Comfort is irrelevant, right? It depends. Some days you're happy as a wedding day. Some day you're invited for a funeral. That's the way dunya is. Has the ups and downs, and you have to get it. You cannot lie to yourself that every day will be a jolly, happy day, that everything will be fun. This is not the nature of dunya. It has ups and downs. But the days that they're up and happy, you have to be able to enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it, Imam Ali said, look for the reason in four causes. Number one, Imam said, su'ul ma'isha. Bad management in your life. There's aqla ma'isha, which is the intellect, wisdom, how to manage your life. And then there is lack of management, and ill management. Dysfunctional management of life. Imam said that could be the reason, number one. Look into that, how we're managing our life. If I know this is my income and I get a house that the rent is too high, you know, in America they tell you, even when you go to the bank, they tell you that based on your income, this percentage could be your mortgage or could be your rent. That's a calculation. That's based on something, right? It's not that the banks care for people. They care for their money ultimately, right? They want to get their money. They want their interest back. But it's based on the studies. It's some form of management. Okay, if you're paying rent and this is your income, understand where you're living. Oh, I like a bigger house. Who doesn't like a bigger house? Who doesn't like a bigger rental? Asking that question about management. How much is my income? How much is my expense? How much of that expense is necessary? How much of it? Is having a saving something bad, especially in this time that we live in? A lot of people don't have even health insurance. Do we need a saving for, God forbid, an emergency in the case of health insurance? They're all, out there. All you have to do is just read an article or book about it that it said it's important to have an emergency fund. Is it anything in Islam against it? No. Is it against tawakkul and trusting Allah if you have a saving? No. Allah gave you the ability, the tools and the means. Even Quran said when it comes to anfiqu, right? When it comes to charity, imagine that how aware of the future, concern of the future you have to be, that Quran has to bring an entire ayah to talk about this. That when it comes to infaq, la tusrifu. Don't do israf in infaq. Do not waste in charity. Wala taqtur. Don't be too tight and stingy either. When you do charity, balance. وَكَانَ بَيْنَ ذَلِكَ قَوَامًا. Find something between that is strong. Qawam come from the strength. Something that you can count on. So your management of money, even for infaq, should be, I'm going to give it. I'm just going to give it. Allah is Kareem. Allah is great. But Allah great said, just make sure in your charity understand, okay, this is how much I can give. It's not just being emotional and giving. If you go to the extent of our Imams, yes, it becomes that Imam Hassan gave half of his life for the sake of Allah. But it was half of it. So you know how much he had and gave half of it for the sake of Allah. So that's number one. Lack of management. Recite the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bad management when it comes to your financial life. Second one, Imam said the cause of any failure, including our financial life, including our rizq, is not learning ibrah, lessons from others' mistake. That is the reason of failure. This statement was said that people who don't learn from history, they're doomed to repeat the same mistakes of the people of the past if you don't learn. That's the reason Allah talks about the stories of the prophets thousands of years prior to Islam and said in the story of Yusuf, La ibra, there is a lesson. You can learn from Yusuf's story. There's a lesson for you. We just don't want to talk about something as just a story and folktale and you enjoy it and move on. It's not a sleeping, a story before sleeping. It's a lesson. One of the scholars, one of the mufassirin of Quran, Muhammad Ali Ansari, is a Farsi speaker, but I'm pretty sure some of his books are being translated. From Surah Yusuf, he derived more than 100 lessons about management. 100 lessons about management from Surah Yusuf. And he said, I did not, cover everything. This was my insight, my understanding of it. So the second cause of failure, Imam Ali alayhi salam said, if you don't use ibrah, learning lessons from others, that will cause failure. Look, people getting divorced, there's a lesson. I'm not saying, of course, nobody's happy for people's marriage problem. We feel sorry for them, right? If somebody, God forbid, have a health issue, we don't want, anything bad happen to anyone. But when that happened, there's a lesson. Somebody, for example, who got into an accident, God forbid, they lost their life, they did not wear a seatbelt. That's a lesson. Young people who were speeding in Ramadan, getting killed, or if that was the reason, as a lesson. Ya Allah, you can recite as many surahs as you want at the beginning of the drive. We should, but it's not going to be an alternative for speeding. Nowhere said, oh, read this. You don't see at the, kind of an asterisk at the end of the dua. They said, okay, you can do whatever you want as long as you read this dua. You rely on Allah and then you do your best, because sometimes you do your best and something happens out of your control. You need Allah's protection regardless. Regardless. So that's the second cause of failures, Imam Ali alayhi salam said. There are people who don't learn lessons. They don't understand ibrah. The third one, Imam alayhi salam said, is israf, being wasteful. One was bad management, don't understand the priorities. Sometimes you're not wasteful, but you don't understand priorities. But sometimes you're just bluntly wasteful. You waste. We have no money for the college, but we have money for wedding. I've known young people, and I'm amazed by this. They're getting married at the time of nikah, and they're telling me, Sheikh, we don't know, we have problem with, a place to rent, or, we're planning to buy a place. MashaAllah, at our time, a lot of people are getting married after finding a job, and they're in 30s now. So I'm not talking about 20s they're in school. No, they're done with the school, they're working in their 30s, and still they said, oh, we don't know what we're going to do with buying a house. Okay, how much down payment do you need? There are a lot of options. I don't know, I can introduce you to some accountant or some, bank, people who works in a bank. They can't give you some suggestion. So nobody have nothing. So what do you mean? So yeah, we had 40,000 saving, but we're planning to use that for our wedding. And I said, you're using 40,000 for wedding. Good, I know you have dreams and all that, but why you don't keep it smaller, then you can have some down payment for a house. I'm not saying you come give a check to masjid, God forbid, right? Or give a check to build a hospital or an orphanage. Forget about those great causes. Be selfish. At least be selfish. And buy a place for yourself. That's wastefulness. And worse than that are people who they have weddings under credit cards. They get loans and pay interest to have a wedding. That's shocking to me. That's the third one, being wasteful. Imam alayhi salam said. And the last one, inshallah, I wrap up with that, is 10:30 already. Imam alayhi salam said, is people who are gullible. That's a reason of failure. Gullible means that those people were easily tricked. There's a hadith by Imam again. Imam said, from the sign of a mu'min is that you don't get hurt from the same source twice. The example is that you don't get bitten by the same, snake twice, something like that. But the saying is that you don't make the same mistake again and again. So I give you an example. This person came to me and said, Shaykh, I don't know, whatever I do, I try to start business and all that, and it doesn't work. And I remember the first time he came to me, the reason was he started a partnership with someone without writing it down. It was a friend of his. They started saying, oh, we're partnered. Let's do this restaurant or this business together. But they didn't write down anything. My word, your word, men style, whatever that means, being the traditional style. And eventually after 6 months, they start fighting, and one side said money is mine, and he said no, he stole my money. And both sides said they lost money, and they're accusing the others to be a thief. And I remember telling him, Quran, the longest verse in Quran is about writing it down, is about contract, is about business. Even if someone have witnesses present. If you don't know how to read and write, ask somebody who know how to do it. The longest verse in Quran, verse 282 of Surah Baqarah, is about business contract. And I told him, I don't know. He said, but he was our own Muslim, or he was a Shia. We knew him. We prayed next to each other. I said, that's fine. But is that a reason for you to skip the step of writing a contract? Maybe he's a very good guy, but God forbid, if he passed away, your children are not going to be like you. What's your proof? You're good. When you write a contract, don't say that I don't trust you. Say I don't trust myself. Today I'm in a good mood. Today I'm a person who cares about halal and haram. I don't know 2 years from now, maybe I'm being influenced by shaitan. I don't care anymore. Let's write it down just for your safety. The second time he did it again. This time with a cousin. Another partnership, they did not write down again. So this is the failure of this time. I blame him. And I read this hadith for him. That from the cause of failure, if somebody is easily being tricked. A mu'min, al-mu'minu kayyis. A mu'min, a true believer, is intelligent. You don't let people easily trick you. It's not that you are deceitful. That doesn't mean because when you say intelligent, some people are literally, they're scamming people. We call that guy is smart. He's a scammer. No, we're not talking that intelligent. The intelligent that you understand if somebody tried to trick you and scam you. You have that intelligence. Imam Ali was the one who said, I'm not accepting the Hakamiyyah. Right? I don't trust Muawiyah. I don't trust Amr As. And if you want to, I'm going to appoint the right person for that position, somebody who's not getting tricked. But people of Kufa insisted, Abu Musa Ash'ari, and he was tricked. He was tricked. It's in history to learn a lesson from that. So these are the 4 causes of failure, the 4 causes that we sometimes lose joy. If you make a mistake in your marriage, don't make the same mistake again. Maybe you get away with it once, you cannot do it second time. I'm talking about mistake of, let's say somebody, God forbid, let's say they made a decision and they lost the money that was belonged to the family. They trusted you with their money. You can't say, okay, I'm going to gamble it again. Allah is the only one who gives us not only second chances, but 1,000 chances. He's the only one. You break a promise, you break your repentance, He gives you another one. But people are not like that, and we cannot expect them to be like God. So if you look at some of these alcoholics and homeless in downtown LA, a lot of them maybe don't have family, but definitely some of them have families. They have families, they have fathers, brothers, siblings. And if you ask them, said, I tried, I took them 5 times, 6 times to rehab. We tried to help them, but they don't want to. We gave up because we cannot waste our life with you. We trusted you. We gave you our house, our couch to sleep on. You stole our money. You stole our car. We cannot trust you again. But Allah is the only one who's the most merciful, It's amazing how kind He is, even than our own mothers, 1,000 times kinder. But don't take advantage of His mercy in a negative way. Use it, inshallah, to be better, for our own sake. That the closer we get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ultimately is a betterment of ourselves. Obedience of Allah does not benefit Him, it benefits us. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I don't know if you have time or should we wrap up? Yes?